Hello and welcome to another episode of Patrick Replies, the show on the second channel, where I, Patrick, reply to your comments and questions about the latest video. And today, we are obviously not talking about the latest video. We're talking about a video that came out in, was it July or August last year? Anyway, a video from last summer. It is the first of the two now infamous train videos. I gotta say, it was like genuinely a kind of a bummer to have both train videos flop, especially the second one. The second one really was a bomb of a video. Like to a degree that I haven't had a video on the main channel just underperform to that degree in years. And that was a bummer because I've also never watched as many movies for research for any videos before. So I was like, I put in so much work and nobody watched them. But then the audience, you guys, I assume everyone who's watching this, really kind of rallied around them. And now like multiple times I have been recognized in public by someone who watches the videos, and they have led with, by the way, I loved the train videos. It's been a thing that comes up so often where it's like, the cool people are the ones that watch the train videos. Everyone there, that it's a small group, but everyone there knows they're cooler than everyone else. So anyway, it's a weird thing where I'm like, I guess the train videos not doing well kind of became a good thing. That said, it would have been even better if they got 1 million views. That would be better. I'd rather have that. And then also the AdSense money that would come with it. Yeah, I'd rather that have happened. But anyway, we're not gonna worry about how the videos performed. We are here to answer questions and comments about the train video. So more train talk right here. We are starting, of course, with the comments pulled from the YouTube comments section by Elliot Gammons. If for future videos, if you really want to get attention and really want your comments pulled so that I'll respond to it, shout out Elliot in the comments, Elliot with 1 L, spell it correctly. Let's see what we've got. Our first comment comes from Jay Liller, who says, I knew Patrick was crazy about film, but to make an entire episode about trains, he must have some loco motives. Wow, we're really off to a great start here. That got 1.2 thousand likes. Wow, we're gonna move on now. ADR57 says, Bridge on the River Kwai, the mere implication of a train can engender 2.5 hours worth of suspense. Now I'm just feeling stupid because I didn't include that in the video. You do make a good point. And I think I just didn't think of it because not a lot of actual on-screen trains in that movie, but you are right. RMS Gray says, personally, I always interpreted that train in Spirited Away differently. That the spirit train Chihiro rides along the flooded tracks coincides with the mundane train running its normal route, and the shadowy figures are the mundane travelers in the mortal world who Chihiro can't fully interact with due to still being trapped in the spirit world. Obvious metaphor for passengers sharing the same space, but never being more than background extras in each other's lives, never entering each other's worlds, and all that. Interesting. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but it does make sense. It is then, if she's going through the mortal world, but then as a spirit, then why does the train go to, what is it? Is it Swamp Bottom, wherever Yubaba's sister is? Anyway, look, here's the thing about Miyazaki movies, and in particular, something like Spirited Away. He didn't do a commentary track on the DVD. There is no objective correct answer about what it is. So much stuff in that movie is just open to interpretation, and your reading is as valid as mine. But anyway, that's a cool take. Moving on. Chance Cole says, I love how imagery of the train is used in the original Gojira, and especially in Godzilla -1. -1 sets the train system up as a symbol of how Japan and the characters are recovering from the war and their trauma, and then Godzilla comes and effortlessly rips the train to shreds like it's nothing, a greater threat than their country can handle. People just keep mentioning movies that I didn't include in the video. I thought I included everything, and I didn't include Godzilla. But that is a good point. Yeah, Yeah, that's good. That's good. Is the whole video just gonna be me going, yeah, that's a good one. Wish I'd talked about it. Oh well. Mikery says, respect is granted to Casino Royale and the other Craig Bond films for their use of trains, but the best Bond train scene is really in From Russia with Love. Well, I talked about that in the second Trains video, so there you go. I don't feel stupid this time. Haha. Cartilage Head, interesting name, says it's notable and worth pointing out that the brothers board a different train, the Bengal Lancer, at the end of the Darjeeling Limited, making the metaphor about personal/interpersonal growth and the passage of time even more pointed. They literally changed their trajectory and the vehicle they've been moving in for something wholly new. That is a great point, and in all the stuff that I said about that movie, I neglected to include that one. Why? What? Here's the thing. Because I made that video now like 9 months ago, I cannot tell you exactly what I was thinking when I wrote it, but that's a really good point, and I should have included it. BL3343 are the threes supposed to be E's? Am I supposed to read that a different way? Now I don't know. Anyway, says, I know Patrick apologized for the bird affecting the audio, but I think the bird actually enhances the video. The tweeting almost sounds like a train whistle, adding vibes to the video. You know, that's a really cool way to look at it. Man, if I hadn't included myself apologizing for the birds, maybe you'd just think that was an intentional choice. But no, I was actually like, shut up, you damn birds. You're messing with the audio. And this might be annoying for the viewers. But I'm glad you appreciated it. Humble Whooper says, the Music Man, both the movie and the stage production, starts with a train scene to set viewers' expectations. Get ready for something very silly. There's a con man talking circles around people and wonderfully precise rhythm and verbal pacing. And what sets that rhythm? The relentless chugging of the train they're all on, that only slows to a stop when Harold is ready to go. He's mastered the beat, or thinks he has, and it feels like all everyone else can do is come along for the ride or get left behind. So here we have once again another movie I neglected to think of. But I will say, everyone who's bringing up other movies that were not included in the video are really just, you know, reinforcing the point that I was making. That trains are so cinematic, that it can serve so many functions, that set so many movies in motion. Trains are like the ultimate cinematic vehicle. They're the best. MJW Bulik, yeah, says, I worked as a prop maker in Hollywood during the 1990s and 2000s. One of my first feature films was Money Train, which was one of the rare movies that I didn't actually end up watching for this video. I've never seen Money Train. Over a 6-year period, I helped build 3 trains, a cruise ship, 2 yachts, and 4 airplanes. It's incredibly hard to shoot on an actual train, boat, or plane. If you see an interior shot, it's going to be a set on a soundstage 99% of the time. That is really cool. Man, I would love to be able to visit like a train set. Not like a toy train set, but like a movie train set, and like walk through a fake train. Is it on some kind of like hydraulic system to like, you know, like shake it and give it the movement of a train? That's just really cool. That's really cool. Wow. And hey, someone who worked on Money Train watched the video. Awesome. Joey Tosi says, there is something about trains and movies that seem very cool. I recently looked into scenic train trips with sleeper cars because of how many fun movies take place in or around a train. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, while working on this video, I did look into just like, you know, oh, can I go back to Europe and just do a long train trip like on a sleeper car, because I just would really like to do that. And I've never been on a proper like train that you sleep on, like, you know, in a sleeper car where your seats convert into a bed. I've never done it before. It looks awesome. I watched a YouTube video that like ranked like the 10 best ones in Europe, and I was like, oh, those seem so cool. I don't know, maybe this year I'll find some excuse to do it. It just looks great. R.W. Davidoff says, Thomas the Tank Engine trains have human crews, drivers, and firemen to work the engines, guards to operate the brakes at the end of the train, etc. Ooh, clarification about the Thomas the Tank Engine thing. I will say that was a joke written by Jake and Mike. I'm not sure which one wrote it. I neglected to do any actual research into like the physiology of the trains on Thomas the Tank Engine, and I was expecting that probably there would be people in the comments who would be like, you idiot, here's how Thomas actually functions. But anyway, here we go. At least in the books and the series when it remembers to pay attention, so like the first 15 or so seasons, the author, the Reverend Audrey, was a big train buff who made up a lot of the lore of the series as backdrop for stories he was telling his son, who went on to take over as a writer of the books after the Reverend Audrey passed, and model railroads he was building. And the series involves a lot of the mechanics of how trains work and how railways run in the books and early seasons of the TV show, more directly drawn from the books. How fires burn from coal, how signals and tracks work, how train systems like brakes, fireboxes, water supplies, and the traction work in train, etc. But, okay, yeah, but what's up with the trains being like living things? Are they organic in some way, or are they just purely magical in the sense of like they are inanimate objects that just have like faces or souls or whatever? Like how? It still doesn't answer that question. Scott Bayetti says, hi, Patrick and Emma. I hope even though you've been exiled to Europe, you'll still do Patrick Reacts to this one. Haha. I mean, it took a while, but here we are. I'm pretty curious what your take is on the train robbery scene at the beginning of Toy Story 3. Lots of scenes could have set the theme of formerly played with toys, but it wasn't just any scene, it was a train robbery scene. Okay, so I did not talk about Toy Story 3 in the video. I considered it briefly, but there's just a lot to talk about. I mean, basically, you know, the point of that scene is to really just start with like kind of a classic Woody adventure. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so it's a classic Woody adventure. That means it's going to be in the Old West. As much as like we know he's a cowboy and he does say like reach for the sky and stuff like that. In a G-rated Pixar movie, they're probably not going to do like, you know, a standoff or like a duel with guns. You can understand why they're not going to do that in a kid's movie. And so it's like, okay, what's the other kind of like exciting Western thing you can do? Oh, a train robbery. It's a classic thing. And then also a train, you know, just lends itself to more stuff than simply people like standing around would. I mean, it just seems like a pretty obvious choice to me. I mean, yeah, you can of course have like horse related stuff like a horse chase, but like trains, it's just, you know, like they're just these like unstoppable things, like in the movie Unstoppable. And a second question, if there is time, there is time. What was the process for researching and organizing all the info for this video? Did this have the most references to individual films of any videos? It sure felt like it. I mean, I will say, like, between the two train episodes, yes, this absolutely had the most references to individual films. I mention it in the second Trains video, I show it briefly on screen, but I made a really big spreadsheet. Yeah, I made a spreadsheet with then, like, color coding and different columns to check off different like categories and stuff like that, just to keep all of this organized. And basically in the spreadsheet, I had like every train movie ever made. And I think that was the first time I used that method of making a spreadsheet to look at all the movies that fit into like, you know, a sort of like a category or theme that I was discussing. And I've actually been doing it more since then for various projects. Like I did it for the post-credit scenes video. Yeah, I'm sure I'll talk about that, you know, in the Patrick Replies for that video whenever I get to it. But I made a giant spreadsheet with basically like every post-credit scene ever made. And it is just very helpful to be able to like look at this long list of stuff, be able to see patterns emerging, be able to like visually see like, okay, like, you know, what have I watched, checking things off, like what fits in what categories. And yeah, that was really helpful. And also, you know, spreadsheets can just be kind of fun. Wow, is that the most boring, like, adult thing I've ever said? Maybe. Let's move on. Whizzer says, Fury Road is a train movie. The war rig truck is such a long and central vehicle to the movie, and with how smoothly the truck soars the desert, it's practically one long train sequence. Okay, look, I get what you're saying. But no, No, it's about a vehicle. The vehicle is driven by the protagonists. They are not like passengers on it. Like they have people in the back seat, but like it's a truck. But no, we're not saying that's a train movie. There's so many train movies, we don't need to add car movies and then say that they are actually train movies. I'm putting my foot down here. Mad Max Fury Road is not a train movie. You know what is a train movie? Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, because that actually has a train in it. So there you go. No track, no train. Passall 77 Parts Technical Specs, very interesting username, says, I feel like I should be paying for these videos. Too good. Well, Passall 77, I have great news for you, in case you're watching this. You can pay for the videos. Obviously, they are free on YouTube, but if you would like to support myself and the other folks who work on these videos, there is a Patreon, of course, where you can, you know, directly support us at multiple tiers, whatever works for you. And then also you can join Nebula. And if you use my code, that also goes directly towards supporting me. And then you get the videos, you know, like early and with no ads. And it's just a better experience all around. And so basically, yes, if you feel like you should be paying for these videos, you can. Chris Handy says, I am somewhat disappointed by the lack of a mention for Throw Mama from the Train. Okay, let's talk about Throw Mama from the Train, a film by Danny DeVito, because I watched it as part of the research for the Train videos, and here's the thing about that movie. The train is in the movie for like 5 minutes, like at the climax. It is not a train movie. It is a movie that is kind of a very loose, interesting remake of Strangers on a Train. If you haven't seen Throw Mama from the Train, the plot is kicked into motion when Danny DeVito's character goes and watches the Hitchcock movie Strangers on a Train and goes, I should do that, and then proceeds to like do the plan from that movie, which is a really interesting way to do a sort of remake. So here's the thing. Strangers on a Train, the original one, also is only briefly set on a train at the beginning of the movie, but that train ride, sets the entire story in motion, and I talk about it at length in the video. That train is so vital to the film. That film like couldn't really exist like that without the train. In Throw Mama from the train does not appear until the climactic scene, and that is a scene that doesn't really need to be on a train other than there's like the danger of falling off and dying. I'm sorry, but once again, I am putting my foot down. There's not enough train. The train is not vital enough to the film. It's not a train movie. It's simply a film that has a train in it for one scene. I feel very strongly about this. Joel Sunnex says, I feel like Patrick's next episode is going to be about planes, just to string the past 2 episodes into an elaborate planes, trains, and automobile joke. That would be funny. And who knows, maybe there was a video about plane movies, you know, scheduled for after the train videos, but then people didn't watch them. And so, we'll never know. We'll never know. But actually the truth is that planes are inherently less interesting than trains cinematically, and also less interesting than cars. And so outside of like, you know, like fighter jets and like aerial battles, like actual like passenger planes, generally not very interesting. There are exceptions. There are like good movies on planes, but it's just like, you compare the canon of train movies and car movies to plane movies, and like, you know, plane movies have nothing on those. So yeah, I would not count on a plane movies video. Sorry. Charles Richelieu says, best sustained action sequence ever made. Bruh, did you even see Extraction 2? It has a seamless action scene that's a running battle through a prison with no cuts that ends with a train crash. Get your facts straight. No, I'm sorry, but you were arguing that Extraction 2, the Netflix movie, that has the best sustained action sequence ever made? That's your argument? You're not going to argue for, like, I don't know, The Raid or, like, Mad Max Fury Road or like, you know, any of the other top candidates? Extraction? No. I think you should get your facts straight and watch some more movies. It's like, yeah, great. Yeah, the Extraction movies have their really flashy, like, one-er action scenes. but not a huge Extraction fan. I gotta admit. Digital Arsenal says, Star Trek is a train show. Yeah, it doesn't have fixed routes and schedules, and halls are big enough, but it's in constant motion, and we see it through the windows. The ship is a key element of story and plot. It is both a location and a vehicle, and many more elements. No. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm being argumentative here, but Star Trek is not about a train. It is about a boat. It is about a naval vessel in space. I'm not even like a Star Trek guy, and I know that. That's always been what it is. It's about a crew of a ship going out on a long journey. It has a captain, okay? It is about a naval vessel. It is not on a track. Boats and ships, they are also a location and a vehicle, okay? So just because it has that does not make it a train, okay? Star Trek is about a ship, okay? You look at like Star Trek Wrath of Khan, and it's basically about like, it's like about like naval warfare, like two ships like, shooting torpedoes at each other. It's like, that's what Star Trek is. And look, obviously there are like really, hardcore Star Trek fans that I'm sure are watching this, and I'm fairly certain they will back me up on this, okay? Okay, I don't want to be like rude or dismissive, but I do feel very strongly that's what Star Trek is. So now, moving on. Oh, and that was the last comment from YouTube. Amazing. Well, that was actually pretty smooth, even if I put my foot down twice. I'm not trying to be rude. I promise. I'm just like, you spend enough time thinking about trains like that you form some very strong opinions about what are and are not train movies. So now we will go over and look at the questions from the Ask Patrick channel in our Discord server. I say this every episode, but the Discord server is available exclusively to members of the Patreon. Dude with the very long name that I can't remember, who wanted to pay for the videos. If you do want to pay for the videos and you join the Patreon, you get access to our Discord server, where in the Ask Patrick channel, if you ask a question that pertains to the latest video, I will answer it in these videos. And if you ask questions about anything else, then I will answer them just like in Discord. So, up first, we have a question from Sam Aronow, who says, I dare say, Patrick, that during your visits to Los Angeles, you've spent too much time in the suburbs around the West Side and the Valley, and not enough in the actual city, where you can get places by train pretty easily if you're willing to put up with some very unpleasant smells, fluids, and constant threats of violence. I've found it's actually much faster to travel across the region, i.e. through the city, rather than in and out of it, by train than by car, which is about as bad as driving in New York. I am actually going to push back against that, because last year, right after my month in Europe, I went to LA for work for 2 weeks, and I was staying in downtown Los Angeles. I was staying across the street from a subway stop. And in my 2 weeks there, whenever I was going anywhere, I would always try to get there by train. I would always look up directions by train to wherever I was going. And all but a single time, the directions would tell me that it would be 15 minutes by car and like an hour and 10 minutes by train. There was only one time I was able to ride the train. I was going to the movies, I was going to the LA Alamo Drafthouse, and the train took me there in like 10 minutes. It worked out perfectly. Every other time, the train did not remotely go to where I was going, and again, I was in downtown LA. I was like right there in the center of everything, in the place that should have been the most accessible by train. And most of my LA friends that I talked to told me that they've lived there for years and have never ridden the train a single time. So I am sorry, but I do not think that Los Angeles has an effective, functional public transportation system. And also, P.S., does this video count as part of the movement to bring back the bar car on the New Haven line? I'm gonna say yes. Just always have a bar car on a train, like the one in Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. Okay, James Graham says, hello, Patrick and Emma. 2 questions. Well, an observation and a question. Number 1, I'm surprised you didn't ruminate on how dolly shots are typically on tracks and are a further link to cinema and trains. Another thing that I forgot. Well, look, I did use the metaphor of like train tracks and like film running through a camera or projector itself, so you know, so I did one of the metaphors. I'm sorry I missed the other metaphor. And number 2, was the alarm at the end of the train episode a deliberate nod to Challengers? I really want to say yes, but it was not. But I'm glad you thought of it. It makes me seem cool, even though I'm now admitting that I'm not cool, that I didn't actually do the clever thing, so sorry. Okay, Rob Secundus says, concerning trains, do trains play a significant role in Japanese cinema, or near the role they play in American, European, or Indian cinema? Does the bullet train, outside of Bullet Train, feature prominently anywhere, or does its higher speed mean that it's less useful as a setting? Well, I talk about this in the second train video. There is the Japanese thriller The Bullet Train, which is basically speed, but on a Japanese bullet train. And in that instance, the high speed of the train is, you know, part of the point. But yeah, I am not the one to speak about like all of Japanese cinema and you know, and like all of like trains in Japanese cinema. But I will say from my research, it's not that I saw a lot of Japanese movies like about trains or like entirely set on trains. I mean, there are some, but not as many as I saw in like European cinema or American cinema. But there are a lot of Japanese movies that have like train scenes. Like I think in this one I talked about like the great one in High and Low, the Kurosawa movie, obviously Spirited Away. But yeah, because trains are such a part of Japanese culture, they pop up in a lot of movies. But I'm sure there are a lot of Japanese movies that are like largely set on trains that I just missed in my research. There are so many train movies. And so please, people who know more about this than I do, share in the comments what Japanese train movies did I miss? Okay, next up we have a question from, I'm gonna just assume this is French and say Belzebozo, who says, fantastic video, Patrick and crew. Thank you so much. Real film scholar shit. Is putting a choo-choo list together for Letterboxd a big ask? I see you have one for movies about cars that are really about Hollywood filmmaking, and I'm off to think about traffic in that light. Much obliged. You've probably already seen this because this video is 9 months late, but yes, I made a Letterboxd list. It is public. That includes every single movie that I mentioned in the train videos, in both of them. Yeah, there's a lot there. It's like 100 something, I think. But yes, the list is on my Letterboxd. I'll put the link in the description as well, but it's there. Go check it out. TKA3. Please tell me how to pronounce that. I feel like I'm getting something wrong there. Hey Patrick, maybe it will be covered in the Blue Flame special, but I always rank some of Bond's best fights as those found in the claustrophobic bed, cars, and hallways of the series' various train set pieces. Whether it's Jaws and The Spy Who Loved Me, or Robert Shaw's Grant in From Russia with Love, or that amazing sequence from Octopussy, trains make for an excellent place for Bond to battle. Even softer moments like Bond's introduction to Vesper on the train to Montenegro in Casino Royale provides for an excellent battle of wits between the two characters. What is it about trains that pairs so well with 007 like a nice martini? Based on the viewing guide, my guess is this will be touched on at least a little. Yes, we did talk about Bond movies in part 2. But really, it's the thing of like, they are exciting and they are fast and they're dangerous if you're like on top of them, and also they're cramped, so good for fight scenes. But also, they're elegant. That's the thing. It's like, trains are just like the most elegant, means of travel. And James Bond, he kills a lot of people, but he's an elegant guy. He wears tuxedos. He drinks martinis. So I think it's as simple as that. Crantastic says, hi Patrick, one of my all-time favorite movies is The Station Agent, which despite its title and having a main character who likes trains and lots of wandering around on train tracks, doesn't feature a single train in the movie. Would you consider it a train movie despite its lack of trains, despite being the exception that proves the rule? The two train videos kind of blur together for me, but in one of them I used a clip from The Station Agent, just, I think of the line like trains are really cool or something like that. People see trains you see trains like go by in that movie. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna count The Station Agent as a train movie, even though no one gets on a train in the movie. I'm not counting train spotting in the movie because, again, basically no trains in that movie, but also the characters don't really care about trains. They go and go train spotting like once briefly in the movie and then never talk about trains. So yeah, Train Spotting, not a train movie. The Station Agent, I will say yes, asterisk. It's a train movie. J. Daniel Baxter says, "Hi, Patrick and Emma. If train movies are your favorite, which would be second, planes or boats?" Boats. Easily. Because with boat movies also include submarine movies. Those are a form of boats. And then just like ship movies and like pirate movies. Like Master and Commander is a boat movie. So like, it's not even a contest. I'm sorry, Flight Plan. And I'm sorry to my boy Josh Hartnett and the upcoming Fight or Flight, which I'm looking forward to be clear. But no, there are way more great boat movies than there are great plane movies. I mean, like, I just, a couple months ago, I watched Dead Calm for the first time. Have you guys seen Dead Calm? The Philip Noyce thriller with Sam Neill, Nicole Kidman, Billy Zane. It rocks. It's so good. And that is like entirely set on, but like between two boats. Yeah, great boat movie. Yeah, boat movies are really good. And ooh, that does it for all of the questions and comments, which now means my favorite part, the physical mail part. What do we got here? We got two things. We got a big package and then an envelope. Okay, first up, this is from New York State, not city, but state. And so let's open this up. As I'm sure you know, the P.O. Box is listed in the description of every video and on the About page on the channel. So if you want to send us anything that I'll open in these videos, you know, send it to the P.O. Box. Okay, ooh, okay. I'm gonna use a knife on this. There's multiple books here and there's a letter and okay. So dear Patrick, we met briefly at New York Comic Con last year and later I DM'd you a sketch I did of one of your videos. I'll put that sketch up right here. That was really cool. These are my comic books, written, illustrated, edited, and published by myself. It's slice of life, poetic view on relationships, loneliness, and broken hearts. Hope you enjoy. Best wishes, Mario Cow. Mario, thank you so much. These are really nice looking. We have Vincent in pieces. We have Teardrop. And then we have Absence. I gotta say, slice of life stories about relationships, loneliness, and broken hearts are kind of my jam. That's the thing I like a lot in comics, and I am excited to check these out. They also look beautiful. Well, Mario, thank you so much. This is really cool. I'm excited to check these out. They look beautiful, like I already mentioned. And yeah, if anyone watching this wants to look these up, it's Mario CAU. I'm sure you can buy these online. This is great. And also nice meeting you at Comic-Con last year. And now we've got a big cardboard box and whoa, this came from Australia and damn, looks like shipping was expensive. Oh, okay. And we have another cardboard box inside with more tape. Guys, this is exciting. So here is a really beautiful handwritten letter. Okay, I'll read the letter first. Hi, Patrick. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you for all the work you put into your videos. My dad and I watch all of them on Nebula, and it's always a good day when we notice a new upload. Well, thank you for watching. I graduated high school at the end of 2024, and every time I had to write an essay, you were quoted in there somewhere. Oh my God. Well, I hope your teachers gave you passing grades, despite that. By the end of the year, I'm sure my teacher was sick of all the rants I'd been on about content and streaming. So thank you for helping inform my understanding of content and movies and media analysis in general. This is so nice. This is so cool. But anyway, to the point, I work at a record store and sometimes we have secondhand stuff coming in. I found this and knew I had to send it to you as something of a belated Christmas present. I'm writing this in March 2025, so by the time you get it, it might be better described as an early Christmas present. I hope you enjoyed the soundtrack of The Best Movie Ever for 20 minutes. Much love from Australia, Lauren. P.S. I loved the train videos. And folks, It's Streets of Fire, which shockingly, I did not own until now. Lauren, thank you so much for one of the nicest letters I have ever received. Say hi to your dad for me. You guys watch the videos together. That's so cool, and this is just. This is amazing. I am going to go listen to this right now. Yeah, how did I not own this until now? Well, I mean, it's like, this is perfect because it's crazy that I didn't own it yet. I needed to. I even thought about buying it at times and then for some reason didn't. But yeah, this is amazing. Thank you so much. We have the best viewers on this channel. I love it so much. And so again, Lauren, thank you. Mario, thank you. Everyone who sent in, thoughtful comments and questions, thank you very much. And we'll be back here soon so I can talk about more trains and then probably discover more movies that I stupidly neglected to mention. So yeah, there you go. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.